Lectionary from the Gospel of Luke for this Sunday from chapter 14. Please stand as you're able for the reading of the Gospel. Now large crowds were traveling with him, and he turned and said to them, "Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brother and sister, yes, even life itself, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not first sit down and estimate the cost to see whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation, he's not able to finish. All who see it will begin to ridicule him, saying, 'This fellow began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king, going out to wage war against another king, will not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to oppose the one who comes against him with 20,000? If he cannot, then while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for the terms of peace. So therefore, none of you can become my disciple if you do not give up all your possessions." This is the word and the wisdom of God. You may be seated. Okay, everybody remember it's Question Sunday? Yeah, it's Question Sunday. So we've done this a number of times before, and you get to ask questions, and I get to respond to questions. I never give answers. Because questioning is a spiritual discipline and a process. And you ask questions not so that you can nail down an answer and then tell everybody else that you know the answer. You ask questions in order to learn better questions, to understand our assumptions, and to question them. And it's best to ask questions in community rather than by ourselves, because we do learn so much from each other. And if you don't have questions today, I'm going to start asking you questions. So, anybody, can we open it up to the people in the netherworld for them to ask questions if they would like as well? Yes. Oh, we need a microphone again. You'll talk loud? Oh, she's coming.
Would you speak a little bit about your wisdom as it relates to Christian nationalism and what it is that we, as progressive mainline folk, when we are having that presented to us in ways that make us uncomfortable, what is the best response other than just to get mad and walk away?
That may be the best. Honestly, because in interacting with people who claim Christian nationalism, when I just said that you get the answer and then you believe everybody else should be the same, they're there. That's who they are. They have the answer. And if you're not around agreeing with them, then you're wrong. Now, to be fair, I don't think I have the answer, but I know they're wrong. And you always live within this space where how do you share with people who, you go through, I don't want to judge, I don't want to tell them they're all wrong. The only way to do that is you have to get at their humanity and their vulnerability. And usually behind something that is so we're right and we're going to take power is somebody's hurting somewhere. Or families are hurting somewhere. And that's the only way that I think we can interact and get, and be in our own vulnerability. Does that help? Okay. Other question? Do we have the people up there yet? I think they might have a question here or...
I know I've asked this of you once before, but I'm hoping for more help because many of you will remember George Brown. And when he was here, when we said the Lord's Prayer, he omitted a comma that is in the Lord's Prayer that I learned to have great respect for. And I wonder about that comma, and I'm hoping maybe we can have some thought about that. It used to be, we say it, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And George omitted the comma between thy will be done, and he just said, thy will be done on earth, which I tend to think it feels right to me, but I'm not one to rewrite prayers, especially the Lord's Prayer, and I don't want to go there. But I'm curious about that comma.
Okay, so he took out in heaven also. Okay, so he didn't say as it is in heaven. Took that.
No, he said the whole thing.
Oh.
There's thy kingdom come, comma, thy will be done, comma, on earth as it is in heaven.
Okay.
He took out the second comma.
The second
Thy
comma.
will be done
On earth.
as it is in heaven. There's no comma on here.
Well, let's go back to where does the Lord's Prayer come from? Where do we have the Lord's Prayer? Where does it come from? The Gospels. Which ones? Luke? Who's back there saying the truth? It's the blend of them that's in two Gospels, Matthew and Luke. And Matthew and Luke are different from what we say. So we are technically no longer being biblical, but tradition takes over. And so we have this Lord's Prayer. The Catholic Pope changed something, and I'm trying to remember. Anybody remember what it was? Yes, Larry. Leading us to, because God doesn't lead us to temptation. That's it. Okay? So the Pope is changing it for the Roman Catholic Church. Can you believe that? Where does he get off? He's the Pope. Okay. The other thing that I would tell you that is what I have a hard time with in the Lord's Prayer is where it comes to evil. And it says, what does it say? Deliver us from evil. Literally, it does not say that in the Scripture. It says, deliver us from the time of trial. That's what it says. In my life, I've had have you had trials? And the trials are not evil coming to you and messing up your life. We have trials. And we want God to be with us when we go through trials. If I had my way, I'd change it to him, not the Pope. But we really missed the mark on the Lord's Prayer there. And then again, I remember some time ago preaching a sermon about the Lord's Prayer and going through it. And at the end, somebody came up to me and says, don't you ever do that again. The Lord's Prayer is sacred. That's one you just don't play with. And from my mind, the way I read the Scripture, we're playing with it all the time. And we're learning more all the time. Think of what we've learned about the Lord's Prayer, even right now. That's good. Okay. Whoa. Anybody else? Oh, here's Mark. Oh, and Kristen, too.
At the start of this, you said, I believe, what questions do we have? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for me, I feel like I have to understand the other people's point of view before I can actually talk to them. If I don't know how they believe, how could I ever talk to them? And I remember my friend who was like 85, for his birthday, he wanted to go see Donald Trump when he came through and did his rally in Everett. Well, anyway, he was my friend. That's what I did. But I remember sitting there for like 3 hours and the people in front of me and behind me telling them I hadn't decided, which I already had, but that didn't matter. But what was interesting is to truly sit there and listen to these people talk. And I told them I'm undecided. They're decided. But I feel like together, if we can't see commonality, how are we ever going to get together? And the only way I feel like you can do it is to actually sit there and talk to people in a non-confrontational way. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but my question is, how do we try to, you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so what do we do in the midst of, oh, by the way, during that, the thing in the Trump's rally that day, both of my children were out there in the street protesting. I just wanted to let you know. That actually was one of the questions I was going to ask. What can the church do to quell the division we're in? How do we speak with people? And it's a hard one. The hardest thing, I think, is people have opinions because they have feelings. And they don't think that they have feelings that make their opinions. And that makes it very hard because they're not reflecting on themselves. Why do I think this way? And when you really get down, there's got to be something that is in their life that is non-negotiable feeling, and then they turn that into a belief. It's very hard to talk to people who are that way, and I know some of you have people in your families. I do, and I go back and forth with my cousins in North Carolina. One time I decided to defriend one of my cousins, and then my brother, he's our cousin. So I refriend, and I mainly just suffer through what he posts on Facebook. Once in a while, I'll throw something in. Then one of my other cousins, who's liberal, will join me and play this little game. But again, I think that ultimately it's about feelings and being vulnerable, and if people are not there, you're not going to be able to change them, and really, you're not going to be able to talk to them. That's my experience. It's a problem. Let's see, I thought I saw somebody. Yeah, Mark. Mark.
I wanted to ask about how you think it came to be that Revelation became about the end of the world. Because when I was raised Baptist, there was a book called The Late Great Planet Earth.
Yeah, Hal Lindsey.
In the 70s. And then when I changed to Methodism, my Sunday school teacher taught us about what Revelation really was, which was a book about Nero. And all of it was referring to the Roman emperor at the time. So I'm just curious, how did we get there? What transpired in theology to make Revelation to be something it's not?
Well, we have groups that have been going to that forever, and if you remember, the Adventists, Millerites, they were called, in the 1830s, decided the end had come, and they all sold everything they had. They got rid of their books, and they got on the top of the house, and they waited for it to happen. It didn't happen. They waited 6 months. It didn't happen. They waited another year. It didn't happen. And we still have Seventh-day Adventists. I don't understand how that works. I'm just kidding. Part of it is you just alluded to. How do you read the Bible? If you read it literally, that's what's going to happen. And reading the Bible literally, like it's become, is really a modern feature. My generation, my grandmother's generation just accepted the Bible as it was, but they never really read it literally. They read it and they said, well, that's not quite the meaning there. This is, 80-some-year-old grandma who's saying this. What fundamentalism did is it made everything absolutely unchangeable and true. When you do that, what does Revelation become? And on the other side, people don't study the Bible, okay? People out there read Revelation, they think, oh, I am free to read this, and I am free to make my own judgment about this, and I don't have to consult with anybody. We are Americans, and that just doesn't work. Nowhere in the Bible can you read without studying it. You can get a devotional feeling from the Scripture. Something in the Scripture just moves you. That's really wonderful. But you can't take that meaning that you get from this wonderful feeling and go out and say, now everybody, you have to experience it just like I did. That doesn't work. When we study the Bible, we get a better understanding of what it was meant to communicate. And as Mark said, Revelation is a coded response to empire. Roman Empire, so when it says Babylon, it's talking about Rome. And if we were to use Revelation, really use it for what it's meant to be, we would look and say, where is empire today? Where do we see the powerful gaining all their power and oppressing others? If we find that, then Revelation becomes meaningful. Does that help? So who was it? I think it was, are you on there, Ed? He's muted. Well, anyway, Ed was asking me the same kind of question, so I gave him a book on Revelation. We'll see.
Yes, I am. Yes. And of course, I have to wait for my leader to read. Could I return a bit back to the Trump thing for just a minute? I didn't get a chance to think about it.
Sure, go ahead.
In answer to that, we're talking about people in your family. My eldest son, my darling first son, who I care so much about and love, is an ardent dumpster and many, many other things. And he called me on my birthday and so forth. And we have a stand. We used to sit there, and Mom used to start to cry. I said, this is not good. You're not going to sell me, and I'm not going to sell you. So from now on, we have a truce. We talk about the things that are, and he actually came back to Christ, by the way. But anyway, I don't know. But anyway, we have that. Keep silence on that subject. Enjoy all the rest of it. That's just my advice.
I think that's good, and I think there are times, particularly in families, you don't want to destroy relationships in your family. And I think truces like that are good. And my argument is with my brother, who is a non-vaxxer. And so that's what I go through. And I think it's true. Okay, we're just not going to make this an issue in our relationship. That help, Ed? Okay. Anything else? Shall we sing?